Hello and welcome to another book review. This is again one of the older books. This one I really can't understand why I didn't know about it. I actually borrowed this from Rachel, and it is The Beginner's Guide to Ogham Divination by Ceri Norman. And this was actually released in 2022. And I didn't have any idea, which is amazing considering that I really love the Ogham and enjoy reading about other people's interpretation of that Irish alphabet. So, why am I on here talking to you about it? Because having discovered this, it is another really good resource of information. What I like about it is that the author gives examples of her personal experience of how that they work with the Ogham, and I believe they've got quite extensive, I think it's about 30 years that they've been working with the Ogham, so they've got quite a lot of experience, personal experience. I also liked the fact that in this book they also talk about their personal experiences of working with them, not just how they do that, but also how that has moved into their daily practice in witchcraft and life in general. Talks about that from the modern perspective. So although there are historical, of which there are few and far between for anybody, but they're there, and the author does discuss the historical. She then talks or discusses more about the more modern practices, some of which are they are the author's personal perspective, but they weren't put across as that at the time. So they were put across as, for instance, the Celtic Tree Calendar by Robert Graves only has 13 of the Ogham. There are 20 in the original, plus the full feather, of which there are 5. So the author covers that in that, yes, they, those other authors have taken their personal gnosis and put it across as not being personal. This author doesn't do that. She actually does say, this is my personal understanding, this is my personal practice, which I really appreciate in any book. So, what's in here? Well, as you can see, I did get a little bit more organised than I normally am. So yes, there are 4 parts to the book. Part 1 is dealing with what are the letters, the legends, the Ogham. She does cover the Celtic tree alphabet, as I said. She also says about ways to connect with trees, not just the trees of the Ogham, but to actually connect with trees. Part 2 is about making your own Ogham set or buying an Ogham set, how you can do this, what you would use, and about divining with the Ogham, making suggestions of different ways to use them. And she has got in here the Fion's window, which is, I want to make sure I get this right. It is, so let me get that so I can just get that word. I can never go the right way when I'm trying to show you the page, but you can see it's here. This is known as Fion's window. And this was from the Book of Ballymote. I thought it was, but I wanted to be absolutely sure before I said that. So it's mentioned in the Book of Ballymote. And it is quite a useful way of actually divining with Ogham, if you wish to. Not so much cards, because if you got Ogham cards, which you can either make or you can purchase, you need to use more card-like spreads. But if you've got staves or little wooden or little crystals, then this is really useful, because you not only have the fit that you've thrown, but you've got where it lands next to give you an extra interpretation. That's just me. Sorry, I'm going off it because I really am really excited about this book. So there is then obviously the main part of the book is discussing each of the fee. And again, what I like about this author is that she says that in the old medieval manuscripts, in the margins were all these extra associations. So there are tree associations, there are pig associations, there are colour associations, bird associations, cloud associations, people associations. What the academics are thinking at the moment is that these lists of associations were to help the person learning Ogham how to relate to them. So they're not specifically a tree calendar. They're not. They were ways of keeping that information, retaining that information. And the author actually does list them with each of the fee. Isn't that great? So you've got, this one's just opened it on, which is gorse. The original meaning was probably ash, as in ash tree. The keywords: abundance, gathering, gratitude. She gives another thing that she gives in her list is the type of tree in Brehon law, rather, because you could actually be hung for cutting down certain trees. So it depended on where they were listed in the Brehon laws as to how important they were. So this particular one is a bush. You wouldn't get hung for cutting down a bush. She does list I'll come to that, the Celtic tree calendar. I'll come back to that one. She gives the element, the deity, which is Lu, colour, dun-coloured. The other colour is yellow that's mentioned. The people Ogham, 2 children. She also gives crystals and suns, which I think is probably more of a newer association, because I wouldn't have thought crystals were that prominent in medieval times. But yeah, so yes. So, and there is, as you know, I do love when I can go digging further. So references, so she's got a pronunciation guide as well, by the way. References, she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.5 pages of references. She's then got 4, 5, 6 and a bit pages of bibliography, followed by 3/4 of a page of online copies of various sources, which includes the Book of Ballymote, general Ogham resources online, and online information about trees. Very useful. Now, the one thing that is intriguing me, it's not a problem, because as the author says, we have no definitive, this is how we should use the Ogham. We just don't. There isn't that in the old manuscripts. We don't know how our ancestors actually used it. What we can do is develop our own practice, which is what I think this final page is, which I will try and hold up so you can see it. It's that. And it is the Ogham quick reference sheet for her interpretation of an Ogham calendar. So I'll start by saying she's got all the Ogham on there. All the feather are there, included the four feather, which is brilliant. The four feathers she just puts down as being related to summertime, which is fine. The one thing that I'm going to have to work with a bit more, because it doesn't flow for me, is that she's got the first acme, the first 5, running from December through till 2, 3, 4. No, she's only got the first 4 running through. They jump around, is what I'm trying to say. They jump around. And I don't understand why they jump around, because to me, the Ogham is, it's a tree. It's straight. Whether you do it upwards or whether you do it horizontally doesn't make any difference. But for me, because that's how it's written, if you write it from the bottom up, or you write it from left to right. So that's the bit that I'm a bit stuck on, and that's me. I know that. I know I need to work with that a bit more to understand why she's done it that way, because that is her interpretation. Whether it will be something that I will use, I don't know. But yeah, all in all, very, very happy to have got hold of yet another resource on Ogham. So yes, hope this has been useful and helpful, and that you enjoy it. If you get the book, drop a comment, let me know what you think of it, or if you've got anything, just drop a comment. It's always useful to have somebody say hi. So yeah, hope it's useful. See you next time.